Dear friends, I'm Dr. David. I've just turned 60 this year. After a lifetime in medicine, I've walked alongside many patients, especially those over 50. And there's one question I've heard countless times in my office, doctor, every morning. When I check my blood sugar, the number seems higher than expected. But when I do lab tests, I'm told I don't have diabetes, not even prediabetes. So what's really happening? I believe many of you watching this video have faced the same confusion. Maybe one morning you check your glucose and the number 105 or 110 pops up. Suddenly you feel anxious. I've seen patients come to me with worried eyes. Am I about to become diabetic? First, let me reassure you that number alone does not mean you're sick. Our bodies are far more complex than a single measurement on a screen. Health is not just a number, it's a journey, a full picture, with many pieces. I remember one patient, Margaret, a retired teacher. She told me that despite sleeping early and eating sensibly, her morning glucose was always above 105. She was so worried she lost sleep many nights, fearing she had entered dangerous territory. But her A1C was completely normal at 5.5%. I smiled and said, Margaret, that morning number is just a little prank from your body. It doesn't always reveal the full truth. Have you ever felt the same? You do everything right, eat carefully, exercise daily, but the glucose monitor makes you doubt yourself. Think of your body like a symphony. Sometimes one instrument plays off key, but the whole performance is still beautiful. Morning glucose can simply be that off-key note. So why does this happen? Often it's because your liver is stubborn. At night it opens its glycogen storage and releases glucose. Like a neighbor who promises not to play loud music, but suddenly blasts salsa at dawn and wakes you up. This is what medicine calls insulin resistance in the liver and the dawn phenomenon. Another culprit is sleep. A restless night's sleep apnea or simply going to bed too late can activate your stress response. Cortisol rises as if you're about to run a marathon at 3 a.m. and your liver dumps glucose into your blood. That's why your morning reading may be confusing, even if you didn't eat. Hidden infections like gum disease, sinusitis, or a mild UTI can also silently fuel inflammation and trigger higher glucose. After more than 30 years in medicine, I've learned don't panic over one number, understand its context. A glucose reading is like a snapshot, but your health is a full-length movie. Never judge it by one frame. So today, let's decode the reasons behind morning glucose spikes even when you don't have diabetes. Think of this video as a friendly chat, not a lecture. Because health after 50 is not just science, it's about listening with patience and compassion. So let's begin. And maybe next time your glucose meter shows 105, you'll smile instead of worrying. Dear friends, there is another reason your morning blood sugar may be high that few people notice: chronic low-grade infections. I call them the silent enemies. They are not loud or dramatic, but they tap at your immune system, constantly preventing your body from ever truly settling down. Imagine a small fire in your home, not big enough to burn the house down, but always smoldering with smoke and a faint burnt smell. You can still live there, but you're always uncomfortable and tired. Our bodies are similar. Small infections like gum disease, chronic sinusitis, or a low-grade urinary infection are those little fires. I remember a patient, Mrs. Eleanor, 70, who took excellent care of her health. She ate carefully and practiced yoga regularly, yet every morning she saw readings of 108, 110. When we tested her, we found chronic gum disease. She thought a little bleeding when brushing was normal, but her gums were a reservoir for bacteria. Those bacteria release toxins that keep the immune system active around the clock. When your immune system is on alert, the body senses an enemy, and the liver releases glucose into the blood to fuel the fight. Similarly, I treated an elderly man with a chronic urinary infection who had no pain or fever. He told me, "Doctor, I feel fine. I go about my life, so why is my blood sugar always high?" Urine tests showed bacteria. His body was constantly burning fuel to fight them, so his blood sugar never settled. These silent infections are like a drumbeat in the night, not loud enough to wake you fully, but enough to stop deep sleep. The immune system produces substances called cytokines. I jokingly call them the immune system's urgent messages. They circulate and shout, "Prepare to fight." Unfortunately, these messages interfere with insulin control and cause the liver to release even more glucose. Not only gum disease or urinary infections, but chronic sinusitis, prolonged bronchitis, or even Helicobacter pylori in the stomach can cause this. These conditions are often subtle. You may just feel tired, bloated, or have mild headaches, but internally your immune system works non-stop and your liver keeps pouring fuel into the blood-raising fasting glucose. Recent research shows chronic inflammation links oral disease, digestive problems, and metabolic disorders. People with gum disease have a higher risk of diabetes. H. pylori infection associates with worse insulin resistance. So sometimes high morning glucose isn't about your diet, but about another front your body is fighting. I always ask my patients, when was the last time you saw a dentist? When did you last check your sinuses, your stomach, or your urinary tract? Many cannot remember. I tell them caring for your mouth, stomach, and urinary tract isn't just about comfort. It protects your morning blood sugar too. The lesson is clear: morning high blood sugar isn't always about carbs. Sometimes it's a whisper from a smoldering infection inside your body. If your readings are odd, think broader. Your body may be fighting a front you haven't noticed. In quiet afternoons, I often marvel our bodies are wondrous. They never stay silent when danger appears, but sometimes their voice is too soft for us to hear. Elevated morning glucose is one of those whispers. So listen to your body. Don't only focus on the meter, look at the whole picture. Sometimes one dental visit treating chronic sinusitis or curing a small infection will make your mornings feel fresher and lighter. Dear friends, now I want to share another cause, more subtle, quieter, but extremely common chronic inflammation that is not caused by infection. This is a smoldering flame inside the body with no bacteria or viruses, yet it burns and disrupts many things, including your morning glucose. You may wonder, how can I have inflammation without infection? The answer often lies in our lifestyle and bodies themselves. Start with a familiar image, a growing waistline after age 50. Many accept it as just aging, but visceral fat around the organs is a 24/7 cytokine factory. These cytokines are like noisy neighbors who never stop bothering you. They reduce insulin sensitivity in the liver and muscles, forcing the liver to release more glucose. So a few extra inches around your waist can mean higher morning glucose. I recall a patient, Michael, 58, once an avid tennis player who became sedentary after retirement and gained belly fat. He was surprised his fasting glucose stayed above 106, even though his A1C was normal. When I explained that his belly fat housed an inflammatory council disrupting metabolism, he changed his lifestyle, and after months of exercise, his waist shrank and his morning glucose improved. Low physical activity matters. Muscles are the most efficient glucose-burning machines. When unused, they rust and glucose persists in the bloodstream. Sitting for long periods creates a low-grade inflammatory background. Then there are ultra-processed foods, convenient and tasty, but loaded with hidden sugars, bad fats, and chemicals. I tell patients eating a bag of snacks or a can of soda is like pouring gasoline on the flame of inflammation. These foods increase visceral fat, disrupt gut bacteria, and push the liver to keep dumping glucose even while you sleep. Chronic stress is another factor many of you face. After 50, life isn't always easier. Worries about children, aging, finances. Stress is a switch that often stays on. Cortisol flows and tells the liver, keep energy ready, we may need to fight. So the liver releases more glucose and you wake to a higher reading. Allies of stress, tobacco and alcohol are dangerous. Every cigarette causes inflammatory hits to blood vessels. Nighttime alcohol forces the liver to work on metabolism, leaving less capacity to regulate glucose. People think a drink helps sleep, but that sleep is shallow and fragmented, leading to higher morning glucose and fatigue. These factors, belly fat, inactivity, processed foods, stress, smoking, alcohol, or small smoldering flames, they won't kill you quickly, but over time they erode insulin sensitivity and glucose floods the blood. Ask yourself, am I letting that flame burn inside me? If yes, the good news is you can extinguish it step by step. Regular exercise, fresh whole foods, plenty of vegetables, low sugar fruit, good sleep, stress management, and if possible, quitting smoking and cutting back on alcohol. From decades of practice, I learned the body can heal if we give it the chance. Chronic inflammation is not a life sentence. It's a reminder to change and care for ourselves more. So next time you see a high fasting reading and wonder, why? Remember, sometimes the cause isn't what you ate, but the smoldering inflammatory flame inside you. You can start extinguishing it with small changes today. Dear friends, there's another cause often overlooked, but common in my clinical practice: medication side effects. I know when people hear medications, many think medicine treats illness. How could it raise blood sugar? Indeed, medications save lives, but they can have hidden effects. One of those is raising morning glucose, even in people without diabetes. Let me tell you about Mr. John 72, a retired banker. He had rheumatoid arthritis and took corticosteroids like prednisone for months. He told me, "Doctor, I eat moderately and avoid sugar, yet my morning reading is 115. His A1C wasn't very high, but his fasting glucose was abnormal. The cause wasn't diet, it was the medication. Corticosteroids such as prednisone or dexamethasone fight inflammation, allergies, asthma, and autoimmune disease. But they have a downside: they make the liver produce more glucose and make muscles and fat less sensitive to insulin. The result is higher blood sugar, especially in the morning. Not only steroids, some cardiovascular drugs can contribute. Beta blockers like atenolol, propranolol, and metoprolol lower blood pressure and protect the heart, but may reduce insulin secretion from the pancreas, making glucose harder to enter cells. I recall a patient, Carol 66, with hypertension who began propranolol and noticed higher morning glucose. That's a subtle drug effect. Thiazide diuretics, hydrochlorothiazide, or chlorthalidone, widely used for blood pressure control, can disturb electrolytes and affect insulin sensitivity. Many patients go to bed stable but wake to surprising numbers. We mustn't forget statins: atorvastatin, rosuvastatin, simvastatin, prescribed to millions to lower cholesterol and protect the heart. I often tell patients the cardiovascular benefit is enormous, almost life-saving after 50. But studies show statins can modestly raise blood sugar in some people, especially those already at risk of prediabetes. Not everyone experiences this, but for some, morning values creep a few points higher and cause worry. Even certain antibiotics can affect glucose metabolism, though less commonly. So understand this: a high morning reading doesn't always mean your body's broken. Sometimes it's a quiet message from the pills you take. I always advise patients, never stop medications on your own, but talk with your doctor. If you suspect a drug is the cause, discuss it. Often changing the drug, reducing the dose, or altering the timing can make a big difference. For example, some patients who moved their statin dose from morning to evening or slightly reduced steroid dose saw morning glucose stabilize. What matters is understanding the whole picture. Medications help you, but your body also whispers signs. Blood glucose is one of those signs. I tell patients jokingly, medications are companions on the health journey. Some are very good friends, but sometimes they trip you up. Our job is to notice and adjust, not to abandon them. Dear friends, if your morning glucose is unexpectedly high and you take daily medications, pause and ask, could these pills be whispering something to me? Don't worry, working with your doctor, there are safe solutions to treat the main condition while keeping your morning glucose calmer. Dear friends, the sixth reason I want to share with you today is something each of us will face whether we like it or not: aging and hormonal changes. I often tell my patients, the human body is like a garden. When we are young, the soil is rich, flowers bloom, everything is full of life. But as the years go by, the soil isn't as fertile, some flowers stop blooming, and the garden needs different care to stay healthy. Hormones in our body work the same way. After age 50, many hormones that play key roles in energy metabolism start to decline, and that shift makes morning blood sugar rise more easily. One of the first hormones to be affected is melatonin, the hormone that helps us sleep and also helps regulate blood sugar. When melatonin drops, sleep becomes lighter, more restless, and the liver doesn't get the same signal to rest. I have a patient, Linda 61, who often told me, "Doctor, ever since menopause, my sleep isn't deep anymore. Every morning my blood sugar is higher than it used to be." And she was right. Science has shown that low melatonin increases insulin resistance and raises nighttime blood sugar. Next is growth hormone. Many people think this hormone only matters for children, but it's also vital for adults. It helps maintain muscle repair tissues and regulate energy. After 50, growth hormone drops sharply. It's like a builder who used to take care of repairs suddenly retires. Without that worker, the house, our body, becomes less resilient, loses muscle, and insulin doesn't work as well. The liver keeps releasing glucose, and the morning number on the meter creeps up. For women, menopause brings another major change: a big drop in estrogen. Estrogen is a friend to both the heart and metabolism. When it declines, belly fat increases, muscle decreases, and insulin sensitivity drops. I once had a 55-year-old patient who was shocked to see her morning blood sugar higher, even though she never had problems before. We discovered that hormonal changes during menopause were a key factor. For men, testosterone gradually declines with age. Low testosterone doesn't just affect vitality, it reduces muscle, increases belly fat, and drives insulin resistance. I remember Peter, 63, a former Navy man. He once prided himself on his strong health, but after retirement, his weight went up, his waist grew, and his fasting blood sugar climbed. Tests showed his testosterone was low. After lifestyle changes and resistance training, he rebuilt muscle, and his morning sugar stabilized. You see, aging is not just wrinkles or gray hair. Behind it is a whole orchestra of hormonal changes, and these changes affect how the liver muscle and fat respond to insulin. So what can we do, I tell my patients? We can't stop the river of time, but we can learn how to steer our boat. You can support your body with good habits. Go to bed earlier to make the most of your natural melatonin. Stay active, especially with strength training. Eat a balanced diet rich in vegetables and fiber. And manage stress, because stress raises cortisol, which further disrupts blood sugar. Dear friends, this sixth reason reminds us of something important. Aging is not our enemy. It's a reminder to slow down, care for ourselves more deeply, and love our bodies more. Morning blood sugar may be higher, but that doesn't always mean illness. Sometimes it's simply a reflection of natural hormonal shifts. So instead of worrying, see it as a nudge, a reminder to pay attention to your sleep, movement, diet, and peace of mind. Because at 50, 60, or 70, your body still has the power to adapt to stay strong if you listen to it and work with it. Dear friends, the last reason I want to share may sound simple, but it's often overlooked: lack of evening activity. Think of your body like a warehouse for energy. After dinner, glucose from food enters the bloodstream, and the body decides use it now or store it. If you sit on the sofa and turn on the TV, most of it gets stored in the liver and fat. But if you take a 20 or 30-minute walk, your muscles immediately open their doors to take in glucose for energy. Muscles are the biggest customers of blood sugar, and if they're asleep, the liver has to work harder overnight. I had a patient, Frank, 64. He didn't have diabetes and ate fairly well, but his fasting blood sugar was always over 110. When I asked about his evening routine, he laughed. After dinner, I usually just read the paper or watch baseball. I don't really move. I suggested he try a small change, a 20-minute slow walk after dinner. 2 weeks later, Frank came back amazed. Doctor, now my numbers are between 98 and 100. That's the power of evening movement. Our muscles are like powerful glucose vacuums. When you walk, cycle, or do light activity, they open little doors called GLUT4 to pull glucose from the blood without much insulin. That's why a simple evening habit can lower your morning sugar so effectively. On the other hand, if you eat and sit still, glucose gets stored in the liver as glycogen. Around midnight, as cortisol and morning hormones rise, the liver dumps that glucose into the blood. And because your muscles aren't active, they don't need energy, so sugar lingers in your blood, and the meter shows a high number. I remember Anna, 68, a widow living alone. She often spent evenings knitting or lying down after dinner. Her fasting sugar hovered around 112, 115. When I encouraged her to water her garden or move lightly after meals, she agreed. A month later, she returned smiling. Doctor, not only is my blood sugar lower, but I sleep deeper, feel lighter, and my mind is calmer. This shows that evening activity isn't just about blood sugar. It helps digestion, relaxation, and better sleep. A short walk, some gardening, or even light housework signals to your body. We still need energy, send glucose into the muscles, not just the liver. Dear friends, after 50, we often think exercise must be big, going to the gym, lifting heavy. But sometimes just a 20-minute walk after dinner is priceless natural medicine. I often tell my patients, your morning blood sugar reflects your dinner last night. If you ate and walked, the number will be gentle. If you ate and sat, the meter will remind you clearly. So this seventh reason is simple but practical: lack of evening activity is one of the common causes of high morning blood sugar. And the solution is just as simple: make walking after dinner a habit. Don't dismiss it as small. Small things can create big change. Dear friends, after 50, every step and every habit can become medicine for your body. And sometimes the most valuable medicine isn't in a bottle, it's in your own 2 feet. Dear friends, we've walked quite a journey together in this video. From insulin resistance in the liver, the dawn phenomenon, restless nights, hidden infections, the flame of chronic inflammation, side effects of medication, age-related hormonal shifts, and even the lack of evening activity. All of these can contribute to higher morning blood sugar, even if you don't have diabetes or prediabetes. Looking back at these causes, I realized something. The human body is like a complex symphony. Each instrument, the liver, the brain hormones, sleep daily, habits, plays its role. And sometimes just one instrument out of tune can change the entire music. Morning blood sugar is one of those off-key notes. It doesn't always mean disease. Sometimes it's just a whisper reminding you that your body needs balance, needs gentler care. I remember a patient once asked me, "Doctor, does my morning blood sugar number determine my health destiny?" I smiled and said, "No, not at all. That's just a snapshot. Your life, your health is a whole movie, and you are the director of that movie." My dear friends, after 50, we can't expect our bodies to function the same as when we were 20, but we can choose how we walk alongside our bodies. We can choose to sleep a little earlier, take a walk after dinner, eat more greens and less sugar. We can choose to listen to our bodies, go for regular checkups, take care of our teeth, and treat lingering infections. Most importantly, we can choose to live proactively instead of fearfully. I believe health is not a destination, but a journey. Every day we live, every small habit we change is another step along that journey. And on this journey, you are not alone. I, along with many doctors and experts, am here to walk with you. Remember, turning 50, 60, or even 70 is not the end. It's the beginning of a new chapter, one where you understand your body better, value every night of sleep, every meal, every step. I've seen many patients transform their anxious mornings into mornings filled with hope just by making small changes. So the next time you check your glucose meter and see 105 or 110 instead of fear, smile and ask yourself, what is my body trying to tell me today? Because understanding your body is the first step to caring for it. Before we finish, I want to leave you with this. Life and health are not meant to be feared but cherished. Treat every meal as a chance to care for yourself. Treat every night's rest as a gift. And treat every morning, no matter the number on your meter, as an opportunity to begin again, stronger and wiser. If you found this video helpful, please like it, share it with friends or family. Because sometimes a small reminder can change a life. And don't forget to subscribe so we can meet again in future videos where I'll share more experiences, real-life stories, and practical tips to help you live healthier, happier, and more fulfilled after 50. My dear friends, I'm Dr. David. Thank you for spending this time with me. I wish you a peaceful morning, an energetic day, and a strong, steady journey of health ahead.